Namaskaram, Priya.
Namaskaram.
Namaste to you guys.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you both doing?
We're doing fine.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Had a good
So,
weekend?
Yeah,
yes.
we had a
Yeah.
pretty good weekend. A lot of homework, but I mean, we got
I
through it.
agree. I feel that.
So we have a special episode today, guys, because Priya here is coming on our show to represent a very special and very awesome group called MNFitoor. We'll have their links down in the description, but she is here to represent the whole group. So, obviously, Priya, we've been having a lot of COVID problems, and everybody has been trying to figure out logistics to get even if it's sports practices, if it's music choir practices. So how is Fitor doing with the whole COVID practice situation?
It's definitely a very big challenge. I think the biggest thing is kind of the whole community feeling is what made the team work so well, especially being in college. You're away from your family, you're away from like the town you grew up in, you're away from all the people you might have sang with when you were little. But having that sense of community and coming together like once or twice a week and singing with people from all different backgrounds but who have the same interest as you, that's what really makes a team work. And I think that's something we don't have this year. It's like, it's kind of our key ingredient and we're kind of missing that. But regardless of that, this team still means a lot to all of us, and for that we are trying to make it still work. So right now because of COVID, we've been trying to reduce practice timings, of course, because we're not competing this year. But we've been doing Zoom practices, and we'd kind of like break out into different rooms by voice parts and like have one person unmute themselves and have everyone sing with them like that. And our team is trained enough at this point where we just send out the material beforehand and they teach themselves, and we use the time during our rehearsals to kind of brush up individually. And then hopefully our plan in the next couple months is to start recording these offline and then mixing and producing an audio track and hopefully a socially distanced video track to go with it. So that's kind of the goal we have, is to really just I would say the only goal we have at this point is to just keep people engaged and to just keep singing, and also just try to get our name out there because we are such a new group. So despite all the efforts of COVID, we're still going to try to make it work.
Yeah, and especially like you said, with not just COVID, but like also like what's going on in Minneapolis. It's been like, with the whole George Floyd thing. I mean, I know that's over, but I mean, it's still not over in the sense like there's still racial injustice, but I mean, like the whole like violence and everything is still going on, but yet you're still coming out and doing this. So it's really nice to see that you're bringing out a lot of, I guess a good word I guess you can use to say is like passion, and then like putting it out forward and just to shed some light in the midst of darkness.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think there's a lot that we all can do, like small things here and there to just make this community a little more brighter. So I definitely agree with that.
So yeah, now let's before we like get into Fitur, let's talk about yourself. So tell us a little bit about your music background. We know that you did both Carnatic and light music. So tell us tell us both about that.
Yeah, so my musical journey is pretty extensive. So I'm 21 right now, but I started learning music when I was 4 years old. So I've been kind of training in all types of music for the past 17 years, which makes me feel a little old now that I say it out loud. But I started learning in New Jersey, and then I moved to Minnesota when I was 8, and I learned under Srimati Nirmala Rajshekar for many years. And eventually, along the path of my Carnatic music journey, I got introduced to light music when I was about 10 years old. And that's something I fell in love with pretty quickly. And I started doing a lot more competitions in that field and started to get just more opportunities in that field. So it was a nice thing to have a Carnatic background for sure when I entered the light music field, especially for semi-classical songs or anything like that. And then once was in high school, I started to take Western vocal pretty seriously as well. And that was kind of like the last addition to my like musical journey. So overall, I would say all three are still music styles that I sing daily. And all three have given me ample amount of opportunities and like learning methods that I incorporate into like all the music I sing today. So it's pretty extensive, but yeah, I've been competing a lot, performing a lot ever since I was a kid. So it's just something that I really enjoy, and it's something that brings me like some peace of mind and happiness. So yeah, that's about it.
Nice. Amazing, amazing. So now going into a more Fitor perspective, there's obviously so many people in MNFitoor that are participating in it. Can you give us at least some names like that are a really big part of Fitor as of right now?
I think entirely the team in itself is a big, great like community aspect. All of them are equal, but I would say like Bart Shivram is the person who I started it with and such a big figure for the team. We've been working at it for like a couple of years before we got the team like up and at it. So definitely a key player. And then right now, another member of our Minneapolis community is Nandini Sridhar. She's also one of our captains right now. So kind of taking the team into charge for the future years. So I would say those two people are some exactly, growing up within the Minneapolis community, but also just in the team in general, just everyone has such a big role. And we have people from all over the country too, not just Minneapolis, but individuals from other states and other hometowns. So yeah.
That's really nice. Yeah. So now let's talk about like your performance. Now you've told us that you've gotten a lot of practice and it's like, a drill, like just a drill, get all that practice done is quite impressive. So tell us about like your first performance that happened.
For Fitur or in
For well, I mean, yeah, I guess before we like, go into Fitur, we can talk about like, like initially your Carnatic and then we can like, say Fitur.
Yeah, so my first performance was almost more than a decade ago. So I would say it continues, like that nervousness and like that like anticipation is there. And I think it's always like you can prepare all you want, but at the end of the day, like all that preparation is what makes that performance really, exciting. And the more you put in, then the greater you feel performing. So for Fitur, I don't even know what to count our first performance as, because actually our first performance ever under Fitur's name was just 4 people, and it wasn't even a cappella. We did a mashup and we created a track on software and we sang over that piano track. And I think that response we got from that performance from the campus community is what actually motivated us to like fully go out and put all our efforts into starting a team and starting to take the team to the next level. So performance wise, like, it takes a lot of effort to put together something, even if it's just for 3 minutes or 4 minutes. It takes months and months of preparation, especially when you're the one arranging the piece and you're the one like arranging the track and getting 4 people or any amount of people together and putting it all together. So yeah, and then our first official performance was when we competed, I guess. So that was like our biggest performance. And that was another level. We worked for months and months and had like a 12-minute set. And we also did choreo on top of it. So it was a lot of work, but the end result is like always worth it. All those hours just like are put into like our music for a reason.
Amazing, amazing. And obviously a group performance would take so much time to even not even for a competing aspect, but just a 5 minute performance would just take so much time to prepare. And you guys actually went and competed in I think it was a national level, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, which is beyond amazing.
Thank you so much.
So now let's transition to like Minnesota wise. So that's what our main theme is, like, to bring out and show Minnesota as, like, a big hub for music. So first, let's talk Carnatic. So Carnatic wise, there's a lot of other organizations that are here. So tell us your perspective about that. Like, what do you feel is good and all that, basically?
About like organizations or just the community in general?
In general, yeah, community in general.
Yeah, I would say like growing up, it's just been such like a foundation for so many people. And I think there's a lot of amazing organization and a lot of talent too. And I think I obviously like have been out of the Carnatic community for a while here once I came to college, and I still hear about the growth and I still hear about all the young singers and all of that. So I would say it's very nurturing. And I think the biggest thing is that it's very encouraging as well. Growing up, I obviously like competed a lot, but at the same time, like I only wanted to compete because I got to like witness everyone else that I knew and grew up with sing too. And we were all kind of growing up together. If you look at like a 5-year span, the singers we were at the first 5 years were such like different. We're so different than the singers we became in the next 5 years. And I think seeing everyone become better singers and like better vocalists or instrumentalists, like that's what really pushed me in this community. So I'm really glad for that. I think that really set me up, like gave me the confidence, gave me like whatever skills that I have today was because of the community that I was fostered in growing up. And even in college, like I think honestly, one of the best parts of Fitur for me is that I get to sing with people that I've been singing for over 12 years with. There's some individuals that I have been singing with since I was 8 years old. And to see us like go from then as little kids learning Carnatic music to being able to sing a brand new type of music with them, it's really meaningful. And I think it brings a lot more like effort and like meaning into the music we sing together.
Yeah, and I know Fitor, as a group, there's a lot of versatile singers who are primarily Carnatic singers, singers who are Hindustani, and some Western singers. Does that ever clash? Do those styles ever clash in practice, or does somebody sing something in a Carnatic phrase when it's supposed to be in more of a Western type feel? Is there any clashes like that?
Oh yes, for sure. But I think that's like actually more of like a pro than an actual con, because the beauty of a cappella music, especially fusion a cappella music, is that you can make whatever you want out of it. So we have sets where we've done a like purely Carnatic piece, and we have sets where we do a more semi-classical or more filmy or like a fast beat Bollywood or even English songs too. And we play to the strength of our singers. So when we choose soloists or when we choose songs, we keep in mind about who in this team is able to deliver that properly. Not everyone can deliver a Carnatic piece properly. Not everyone can deliver like a Western pop song properly. So it's about choosing like the strengths of all of your team members. But when we do solos, we do keep that in mind. So when we do auditions for soloists, like within the teams, we do factor in techniques, especially if you're dealing with classical music. You really have to make sure that the soloist is executing it properly, because there's a lot of grammar things and all of that are so important. Even like diction, like we make sure that even if someone's not singing their native language, that we take the time with them to make sure that they're learning the words properly and presenting it properly. So a lot of that strict nature, I guess, arises from our classical backgrounds, but I think that should portray into any field of music. And we do have a lot of versatile singers. We do have Hindustani singers, we do have Carnatic singers, but we also have people who have not been trained in like Carnatic music at all. So even through that, they were still able to sing choral to the Carnatic a cappella piece we arranged. And that's just, it's not much, but I think it's a lot about like exposing everyone to all kinds of music as well, which is what makes it even better in the long run, because you're just learning many different styles within a short period of time.
Yeah, and I think you were talking about the piece Manavyala.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sure you're talking about that piece. Yeah, I was mesmerized by that piece. How you guys performed it in such a different way, well, it still had that Narilakanti flowing through the song. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it honestly it was a very risky move. You know, we were running out of time before our competition. We're like, we really want to do a Carnatic song, but you know, and like even like incorporating beatboxing and kind of doing that. And like we actually even did like a small Tani fusion Tani in between with voices and beatboxing. So it was a lot of experimentation. We had Kalpanam Swarams, we had an Alapana, but also a cappella. So it kind of sometimes breaks the barriers between like what you can and can't do. But I think taking that risk allowed us to really have fun with it. And I think we delivered a fantastic piece. It took a long time to arrange. But at the end of the day, like we look back at it and it was just awesome to see how we can take something and turn it into something brand new and refreshing.